Welcome back to the Hockey Hotbed, presented as always by the Hockey Podcast Network. Here on Season 1, Episode 14 of the Hockey Hotbed, Friday. What is it? October 22nd. We're getting through October here. Early stages of the NHL season. Lots of young studs coming out, scoring their first goals, getting in their first NHL games, first NHL points. Seattle Kraken doing all the same things, but just for a franchise. But there are two rookies specifically that I've watched over the past 10 days. And realistically, that I have talked to people about and been talked to about from people saying, these two guys, you should really keep an eye on them. Obviously, everybody's going to talk about Cole Caulfield. Everybody's going to talk about Trevor Zegras. And I spent a lot of time in the preseason talking about Marco Rossi. Those are the young guys that I've talked about a lot. I also talked about one of these guys on Tuesday's episode with Neil Villapiano, and that's Dawson Mercer. He was able to score his first NHL goal earlier this week. And so was the other guy that I'm going to talk about, and that's Lucas Raymond of the Detroit Red Wings. He scored his first NHL goal this past week, which begs the question that I thought of, and I put up on my Twitter page at Hockey Hotbed Pod. Which of these two guys is going to score more goals this year? I mean, they each have one now. They each have multiple points on the season in just a couple of games. Which of these two guys is going to score more goals? And as of right now, if you take a look at the poll, which is still live at Hockey Hotbed Pod on Twitter, Dawson Mercer is kind of running away with it. A good buddy Neil Villapiano did retweet it, so I'm sure all of the Devils faithful are now seeing it because he is basically the spokesperson for that fan base at this point. But Dawson Mercer has 65% of the vote. Lucas Raymond, who was leading early and often, votes came in on Lucas Raymond. He is now losing with 35.5% of the vote. So as far as the listenership of the Hockey Hotbed, Dawson Mercer is going to finish with more goals this season than Lucas Raymond. Unfortunately, listeners, I don't agree. I hate to say it because I have talked up the New Jersey Devils quite a bit early on in this season. I've tried to talk them up mainly because I like a lot of what they did in the offseason. I thought they did a really good job. But when I look at these two players, and when I look at the situations they're in, and when I look at the teams that they're playing on, I have a hard time believing that Dawson Mercer is going to outscore Lucas Raymond. It is not something that is ridiculous. I don't think it's going to be, a landslide. But when I think about the Detroit Red Wings right now, they lose Jacob Vrana for 4 months. There goes an offensive weapon, which is probably why Lucas Raymond made the team, apart from the fact that he had a really, really good training camp and a really good preseason. But if you look at where he's at, he's on the first line. I don't know if any of you knew that, unless you're watching the Detroit Red Wings because you're a Detroit Red Wings fan. Lucas Raymond is playing on the first line with Dylan Larkin and Tyler Bertuzzi. It's not like he's playing with scrubs. I mean, Bertuzzi had a 4-goal game in the season opener. So yeah, I think Lucas Raymond's playing with a little bit of better of line mates. And he's also probably going to see a little bit more ice time for the Red Wings. Now, both of these guys are supremely talented at a very young age. Makes me a little bit jealous, to be completely honest. But thinking about what Raymond is going to do in Detroit and what piece he is in the Yzer plan, he's a big one. He is a massive piece. If they were not as confident in guys like Lucas Raymond, in guys like Moritz Seider, they would not have traded Anthony Mantha before the deadline last year. I understand Mantha's getting a little bit older and he's kind of aging his way out of this rebuild. And I get that they also got a lot of good pieces back, including Jacob Vrana. who was really good for them at the end of last season, but they would not have traded a guy like Mantha unless they were confident that guys like Raymond, guys like Sider, were going to make an impact sooner rather than later. And now you look, it has paid off. Lucas Raymond looks really good thus far into the season. Scored his first NHL goal this week, has, I believe, 3 points in 3 games. I would have to double check that. But that's why I go with Lucas Raymond. If I'm picked between the two, who's going to score the most goals, I would say it's going to be Raymond. Dawson Mercer, it's not that he's bad, because he's not. He is far from a bad hockey player. And I'm sure he has a pretty good season this year. But like I mentioned, Raymond is on the first line. Dawson Mercer is right now playing on the third line. Again, not like he has bad line mates either. You know, he has Andreas Janssen on his left, Thomas Tatar on his right. That's a good NHL line right there. Those are two really good, experienced players to help Dawson Mercer turn his game and evolve into the NHL style of play. So are these guys going to be successful? I mean, the lines that they're on are impressive at a very young age, to say the least. The way that they've played early on in this season is impressive, to say the least. But at the same time, I still got to pick Raymond when it comes to overall goals scored. This isn't points, this is goals scored. Also because of the fact that Lucas Raymond is a winger. Dawson Mercer's a center. He's playing third line center for the New Jersey Devils right now. That's known more as a facilitator role. I get it's, tomato, tomato, potato, potato. It's not clearly outlined that that's what happens. But historically, centers are known more as facilitators, whereas wingers are known more as triggermen. But at the same time, again, I don't want to say that Dawson Mercer is going to have a bad season because I don't believe that. I don't. At all. Both of these two guys are going to be really good. And both of these two guys, I mean, if you look right now, you might get some good odds for Calder Trophy voting with either of these guys. Raymond, nobody knew he was going to make the team. So initially, his odds were a little bit lower. And also, you got to think about how over the moon people are about, Jamie Drysdale even in Anaheim, along with Trevor Zegras. How over the moon people are about Cole Caulfield because of his playoff run with Montreal last year. I mean, nothing in Montreal looks good, particularly right now. But if you look at Dawson Mercer, you look at Lucas Raymond, they've made some noise early on in the season. And they're two guys that, if you want to get a nice futures bet, maybe you sprinkle a little money on one of those two guys to win the Calder. That's all I'm saying. And if you want to watch some good hockey, which I'm always up for, I don't really favor much anymore. Thanks to this podcast, it forces me a little bit more to watch other teams and games in full. And I've loved every second of it. I mean, it's only been 2 months? Yeah, not even 2 full months. But I'm watching a lot more hockey. I'm paying attention to a lot more players. It helps with the new TV deal. And I feel like I should get a sponsor from ESPN or something, because I think I've mentioned that on every episode of the Hockey Hotbed. But do yourself a favor. If you like watching good hockey, watch these two guys. Will Mercer move up the lineup? Possibly, but I don't think that's a bad spot where he's at with Andreas Janssen and Thomas Tatar. And I think if you're the New Jersey Devils and you have that as a third line, you're pretty happy with what you got. So I don't want to say it's going to be a blowout. I can see Lucas Raymond and Dawson Mercer kind of threatening for 20 goals this year. And as a rookie, that is outstanding. You're ecstatic if you're getting 20 goals from a rookie. It's better than Alexis Lafreniere can say last year, better than Capo Caco can say for 2 years ago. Better than Jack Hughes can say whenever he was a rookie. So do I see them definitely scoring 20 goals? No. But I could see them threatening. I see them somewhere between 15 and 20. Especially if they play the way that they have been playing so far this season. I think Lucas Raymond has kind of stood out a little bit more than Dawson Mercer, but it's not not by much. Like I've said with most of this, it's not by much. There's not much separating these two as of right now. So do yourselves a favor, check out some New Jersey Devils hockey, look at Dawson Mercer, check out some Detroit Red Wings hockey, and watch some Lucas Raymond. I mean, the Devils are the better team. The Devils are going to be the better team. The Devils of these two teams are the one team that might be playing meaningful games post-Olympic break. Detroit, that's fine. They're still, beginning stages of the Yzer plan. But we're going to take a quick break. When we return, I'm going to finish off this Friday episode, as I want to finish off every in-season Friday episode from here on out, with the Hockey Hotbed 3 Stars of the Week. We'll be right back.